When you think you're resting, your brain is actually working against you. And this is a huge problem in the digital age. We don't realize that there's this hidden loop where our brain is being filled with constant internal chatter, with overthinking and mental fatigue. And it's one of the things that I've talked about in other videos that is at the heart of a lot of the cognitive decline and even Alzheimer's disease that we see as we age. This is why you feel tired, even when you're doing nothing. We're going to examine today what is this background noise and how it siphons your energy, your health, and your focus. Again, I'm Dr. Brian Ramos, founder of Zen Brain Academy. If you find value in this video, please give us a like, share with somebody you think may benefit, and of course, give us a follow. We put one video out every Wednesday on one of these digital age hacks that are really going to help you to level up your productivity and your health. So check us out. Check out all the other videos as well. Let me share a quick presentation. And one of the big problems that I find is that in the digital age, the habits that we've developed have created so many problems, not just physical, but also mental. And another thing is that at the heart of longevity is brain health. This is what you want to protect your brain because it regulates everything. So I want you to keep that in mind. A lot of the things that we're doing are really shortening our lifespan without us realizing it. All right. So remember, your brain really isn't ever quiet unless you master meditation, which is something very difficult for people to do because we've entrained our brain, particularly when we sit idle, we've entrained our brain to be very busy, to always be either worrying or be stressed or be thinking about the past or the future. We're never present. And is one of the reasons why I've said in other videos and on our socials that mindfulness is one of the things that you need in the digital age. It's so important more than ever before. So remember, your brain is never quiet. It's just running the wrong system. But you can, again, train the brain, as we talk about in Zen Brain Academy, train your brain so that your brain can actually really level up. Our brain is often active at rest. That's called the default network mode. This can actually be beneficial for problem solving and creativity. So if you're actually really busy and you're constantly stressed, go, 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 do, it's hard for me, for the person to then really think outside the box. They're just caught in the moment and all the things that they're doing and worrying about. So the default network mode has a certain benefit that I can step back and allow my brain to kind of connect the dots and do a little internal chatter, and eventually I can have an aha moment. It can often drive self-talk and mind wandering. The problem is that when people say, I want to take a break, that break is still doing. So I'm overdoing it when I'm doing my regular things. And then when I want to take a break, I'm still doing more. And oftentimes that doing more could be with digital devices as well. So I'm never really allowing my brain to take a break. The brain is always working, and that overthinking really drains your energy, drains your neurochemistry. Default network mode is also going to pull your attention inwards, distracting you. So if I'm always entraining my brain to be busy, 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 guess what? When I'm doing something and I need it to be focused, my mind gets pulled this way or that way, away from productivity. This network is going to turn on when you're not focused. If I've already entrained my brain to be inattentive and lacking focus, I'm spiraling out of control in a sense. My brain doesn't know where to focus. It's being pulled one way or another. If I try to practice meditation or mindfulness, I'm going to find it really challenging and likely give up. This default network mode is controlling your internal world and is at the heart of people often failing or struggling with or giving up on meditation, which is a practice that everybody should do. And mindfulness, of course, as well, is kind of that bridge of being present to be able to settle the dust, to go deeper and deeper in your inner practice. And so the default network mode is your inner narrative as well. You're thinking about yourself. It may lead to a lot of self-doubt. You're replaying the past. And I talk about this in Zen Brain Academy in a quantum model for brain health that I teach, where the you want to be free of mental health outcomes, be present, because it's either in the future or in the past. When the mind dislocates from the present, that problems lie. Either depression exists only in the past. When the mind is drifting, longing into the past, and you start to stagnate, it's almost as if, think of it this way, this idea of the past and the future, where we bifurcate, we go out of the present and we're in the future worrying about something that may never happen. We're anxious about something that's going to occur in the future, we think is going to occur, or we're stagnating into the past where depression lies. The analogy is kind of like a river. Life is a river and it wants to take you forward, forward, forward. But if I'm in the past, I'm stagnating behind. Life is now over here and I'm over here. And that's creating a lot of friction, a lot of pain and suffering. I'm clinging to something in the past. My mind keeps going back to some better moment or something of that sort, or longing somebody who's no longer there, and that leads to depression. If now I'm in the future, the mind doesn't like a lack of collapsing into real outcomes, into the present. It is projecting an outcome into the future that will likely never occur. And it tries to collapse like a wave into an outcome, but it can't, because none of those outcomes exist. The mind starts to oscillate, looking for an outcome, and that leads to agitation, worry, doubt, fear, anxiety, etc. That's in the future. If you want to be free from those outcomes, be in the present. In the present is where reality exists. And oftentimes we think we're present, but we're in a digital device busy doing something on our mind. Our energy is dislocated out of our body, projected out onto the world, and we're not realizing that we're emptying the well. We need to stop what we're doing often, regularly throughout the day, to reset, recharge. It's a cyclical approach. I call it my quantum approach to mental or brain health, instead of this linear approach where I'm pushing, 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 pushing until eventually I fall off a cliff. If I have a regular cyclical approach, which is how everything in nature operates, it operates in cycles. You do, and then you just enjoy being. You're stressing, and then you're recovering. You need to kind of push the accelerator and then the brake. Otherwise, you start to break down. I need to activate the sympathetic, and then I activate the parasympathetic. Those two sides of my nervous system, one to get stuff done, one to agitate, one to calm, one to settle, one to rest. And if I'm always on this side, the stress side, guess what happens at the end of the day? I have nothing left in the tank. I start to break down. I'm restless. I can't fall asleep. And so I want you to keep that in mind as we go through this presentation. So the default network mode is building your identity, but it can also trap you in it, because it can create false impressions of the world, false impressions of you that become you in a sense. These ideas of doubting yourself, of negative talk, so on and so forth. It's important because the brain loves to be ruminating, loves to be thinking about past mistakes, worrying about the future, thinking you're not enough or that you need more. You're overthinking, you're pressured, all the what ifs, replaying conversations in your head. Could I have said that differently? Am I going to lose my job because I did A, B, or C? All of these things are happening and your brain is running on overdrive, and it's preventing you from focusing. And if I'm compounding this with digital devices that steal my attention even more, I lose control over my brain, which is the only thing that I should be focused on in the digital age. Why? Because the brain controls everything from a top-down fashion. An overactive default network mode is where stress, anxiety, distraction are going to begin. You want clarity and calmness? You need to start reining in the brain so that you are less distracted and more restful. So we have this inward aspect to ourselves But when we go inward, the default network mode kicks in. Busy, busy, busy. Then I go outward and I'm trying to focus, but again, there's too much busyness. There's too much stimuli through digital devices. My default network mode is operating in the background. I'm unable to really focus either inward or outward. The internal and external attention are really struggling because of one thing: control of my brain. That is the key to power, key to freedom. You want more, you need to control the brain. And oftentimes we're just active when we don't want to. We're not as active when we do. And we're struggling with this balance because we're struggling with the control of those two hemispheres of the brain, the two sides of the peripheral nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic that I talked about earlier. Remember, we want to be task focused. The inner world is chattering away. Then when we want to go inward to take a break, that inner world is just chattering away. And they're in opposition of each other, both the inner and the outer, and I can't gain control. I can't be present. So why is it worse today more than ever before in the digital age? We've alluded to it already. Digital devices are compounding the problem. They're hijacking our nervous system, hijacking our chemistry, hijacking even our dopamine, and hence our motivation. We have no mental stillness often. Very few people take that break to unwind. And often when they do take a break, it's still doing, or they don't take enough breaks. We are also disconnected from nature. And nature has the code, unlike digital devices, that are designed to hijack the code and throw you off. They're designed for addiction. They're designed to pull your attention and weaken it over time. Nature strengthens your attention, rebalances and resets you, and is reasons why in Japan, for example, they have forest bathing. People will take time to go into nature. Build your own little Zen garden in a sense. If you live in a city, there's ways you can integrate this into your household. And this world that we live in the digital age has led to fragmented attention. We're constantly switching our attention from one thing to another. We think we can multitask, and we talked about this before in other videos, the myth of multitasking. I constantly switch and then I have to reboot. I'm never fully present. We've trained our brains towards filling, doing, agitation, and it's going to skew us in that direction, skew us towards more default network mode operating in the background. So I want to focus in the present, I want to get something done, and the chatter is going. I step back, I want to be, and the chatter is just still going. And no wonder people are struggling with stress, anxiety, and restlessness more than ever before. This overthinking is leading to cognitive decline, shortening of the lifespan of individuals. Then they have to keep themselves going longer with medication, which opens the door to other problems because there's no drug out there that doesn't have symptoms. And so it's a huge issue that we have to value, and is one of the reasons why Alzheimer's disease is also rising, attention deficit, autism spectrum. It's the way that we're living that's interacting with predispositions, with genetics, to really open the door to more and more and more problems to become more evident. Nobody's perfect, but the way that we're living is really throwing us off a cliff in a sense. We need to value our brain health more than ever before. It's really the secret sauce to everything. So dopamine feeds this loop. And I've talked about this in other videos, this kind of loop of stimulation. You get a hit. Now you're idle. Your mind starts to wander. I start getting that itch, that agitation. I start feeling like I need to pick up the device. It's one of the reasons why you talk to the younger generation, fewer people now read, because when you read, it's the same thing, that agitation is occurring. I need to pick up the device. I need more stimuli. My dopamine circuits are waning. And that loop to seek that next spike is there. And so I can't. I'm restless. I go pick up the device. I go pick up something, do something that keeps me juiced up. This is where dopamine and the default network are going to connect. and it's going to keep me in that distraction loop, unable to strengthen my focus, weakening my ability to attend, and therefore lowering my energy. The default network mode is going to shift into focus networks if you do something, you detox, you digitally detox. And during that period, what am I doing? I would get more contact with nature. That would be one. I would practice more movement, more mindfulness, breathing. So think of like yoga, where you're practicing pranayama, for example, getting more contact with nature, meditation, all of these things, reading more, maybe playing some game with family, a board game, something where, or a jigsaw puzzle, something that is digitally separate. Go out and have a good time with friends. Go to the beach, go for a hike. Or if you're in the city or in the house, then take a break. Just reconnect with a loved one, have a nice conversation, maybe cook a nice meal, disconnect from digital devices because that detox is going to help to reestablish some of that baseline, reestablish some of that neurochemical baseline that we're often throwing ourselves off of. So to shift into focus networks, I need to design a different workday. Monday through Friday, let's say if I work Monday through Friday, you want to design a different workday. I've talked about this in other videos, kind of like breaking it into blocks of focus work with breaks in between. Not breaks to grab at the digital device, breaks to reset, reconnect, recharge, reduce the internal noise. I need to get comfortable with that chatter to realize that it's like a passing cloud. It's going to come and then it's going to go. The thoughts are going to be there and then they're not. I don't connect with them. I don't identify with the emotions or the feelings so that they don't sweep me away. I allow them to be and then they settle away. And mindfulness is critical for this. Breath helps as well because it helps to reel in the mind. Train your attention daily with mindfulness practice, keeping yourself, bringing yourself back. You could even do this while you're working. You're working, you get pulled away, bring yourself back. Turn off notifications, declutter your workspace. Start to work on the clutter internally as well to settle that dust and allow yourself to have more clarity and calmness. You don't eliminate the default network mode. You can learn to regulate it. Remember, it can be useful, as I mentioned at the beginning. So you want more focus, clarity, direction, mental space. We need to work on all of that dust, all of that noise. The breath interrupts the loop. If you breathe a certain way, for example, enhancing the exhale, you activate the parasympathetic. We teach a number of techniques in Zen Brain Academy where you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can go there with an expert, a Yale-trained neuroscientist, a yoga master that is going to teach you all the things that you need to be able to be successful in the digital age. I've been studying this for well over 2 decades. The first scientist to show a connection between stress, the way that we live, the overthinking, and Alzheimer's disease. Identifying stress and inflammation as the two silent killers of our generation. How our habits in the digital age are doing away with us. We can do things to interrupt this, to reduce the mental noise, to bring clarity, to bring calmness, to bring health and well-being back into our body so that we can continue to be productive, more productive than we ever thought we could be, but without sacrificing ourselves. How do you do this wisely? How do you do this wisely without rejecting technology, integrating technology, allowing technology and AI to level you up, to open more time during the day for you as well, for these other things that you want in your life that allow you to reestablish balance, freeing your thoughts, filling you with more awareness. The breath is one of the single best ways in which you can do this very quickly. You can reclaim your attention. Remember, mindfulness. Mindfulness, mindfulness, mindfulness. Eventually, with mindfulness, breathing, you train your attention and eventually you can start meditating. And that meditation will allow you to have complete control of both inner and outer, of both ascending pathways and descending. everything just falls into place. And you find in a yin yang approach this kind of balance point where everything just flows. And you're in the flow state more often. While you focus, you're able to then break your rumination as you enhance your focus. That external engagement that you're doing is more present, is more productive. The quieting of the default network mode is allowing you to attend. And then what you focus on will then determine what your brain does. I can be more present. I can get more done. If you regulate your nervous system, it opens the door. What regulates your nervous system the best? First, breathing. You can try mindfulness. Movement also helps. Eventually, you can then sit still and regulate it more effectively and more calmly as you gain more expertise. Remember, it's all about training. It's not that there's anything wrong with us, it's that we need to train the brain to be able to do the things that we often want. But the problem is that we often give our brain not what it needs, you give it what it wants. And the brain would rather be idle, would rather be distracted. So if we often need to resist the urge to give the brain what it wants, give it what it needs instead. And that's going to require a little bit of effort. So movement will also do this, especially movement out in nature. If you live somewhere where you can get out to a park or to a little, what do you call, like a national park or something. Maybe you live close somewhere like that, or maybe on the weekends you become more adept at getting out and getting some more movement and getting out in nature more. It's going to pull your attention away from the mind and into the body. That's why movement is so important. Breath does the similar thing. It's going to reduce that mental looping that otherwise will trap us. So, mindfulness, movement, breath, nature, key ingredients. Train your brain for stillness. You want mental clarity, you have to build it. You want good attention, it's a skill. You want stillness, you need to practice. A quiet mind isn't natural, it's trained. And the day that you realize that is the day that you realize that calmness, you're not born with it. You have to train, you have to nurture it over years so that eventually it becomes a trait that's a part of you. You see somebody that's super calm, they've trained it, they've trained the system, they've trained the brain. All right. So if you're interested, join Zen Brain Academy free for 2 weeks. You can join one of our courses, my office hours. You can ask me anything. It's free. Why not try it? You can cancel it afterwards. I think that you'll like it. You'll learn dopamine stabilization. We've talked about the quantum model to mental health. I've talked about in other videos how to turn stress into the flow state. You can train your attention. We've got techniques for attention deficit, for example, nervous system regulation, deep focus, and more. Remember, you don't escape the noise. Life is always going to be busy, and it's only going to get busier in this AI-powered digital age. But what you can do is retrain the nervous system to create the peace, the harmony, the well-being that you so want and that you so deserve. If you want to take control over the mind in the digital age, it starts with Zen Brain Academy. There is nothing like it. All right. Have a beautiful day. Wherever you may be, take care. Stay Zen.